Good afternoon. I'm back. And happy Valentine's Day. Ta-da! So, what are we going to do today? Today, we are making focaccia. Mhm. Because it's nice, it's simple, and I think everybody should give it a go and not buy the crap that they sell at the supermarket. It's so easy to make. So, what we need are a few simple ingredients, and it's flour, obviously. And the flour you want to go for, ideally, you should use the Manitoba type flour, which is pretty hard to find in the Netherlands. You have to go to specialized shops, Italian shops, to find that, or you have to buy in like loads, large amounts. But they don't sell it as Manitoba. They probably sell it under a different name. But I found this pizza flour, which is the type 0000. This is how we call it in Italy. And I think it's the closest thing. What you basically want is a soft wheat flour. Is that how you say it? Anyway, so I'm gonna get my shit together because as usual, I'm never organized. It's just something I decided to whip it together at the last minute because we finished the last batch and Misha loves it, so do I. So let's make another batch. So I'm gonna get my big tray, and possibly what you want to use is a heavy it's metal. It's one of those tray that doesn't really bend in your oven. So you need that. You need the flour. You need some yeast, some fresh yeast. If you don't have the fresh, you can use the dry, but the fresh yeast is better. We need some. We're gonna need some sugar to activate the yeast, and salt, and oil, and water. So now, let me take this off, so I'll be covered in flour. I'm all achy today. A couple of days ago I was training with my former trainer. We started training again, and the man is brutal. It's fucking brutal. Every muscle in my body is aching. So I'm gonna be moving in an awkward way, perhaps. Bear with me. So, bowl. We need a bowl. Ouch. So we need 400 grams of flours, 25 grams of yeast, 270 grams of water, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of salt. The recipe, this is a recipe I printed out on May 18, 2009. I think I just met my husband and printed off. And I remember I lost it for a while. I couldn't find this print because if you Google it, it's hard to find. And this is just the best recipe because it's really simple and you always get it right. Even if you use different type of flour, just a normal baking flour, that's fine as well. The tray is a 30 by 40 centimeters. And let me measure this one just a bit, just for the sake. This is actually 40 by 26, so yes. So what we're gonna start by weighting the water, and the water you want it to be warm, not too hot, because you don't want to really kill your yeast. You want to activate it. So let me run some hot water, which right now with the cold is going to take a little longer. Let me. Whee! Hello. So, and how was your Valentine's Day? I went with Tony. We went for a walk at the lake. It was really nice. Everybody was skating on the lake. There you go, running hot now. The dog was really happy. There was a nice atmosphere. Some people were listening to music. It was as they say here, gezellig, or cozy. Nice. Nice. Now let me dry my hand with a tea towel. So, 260 grams of water. 170, never mind. Now, let me see if I can bend this. There you go. So you can see the ball, the action is a little bit extra, but never mind. And now we're gonna add 25 grams of fresh yeast. Three, 24, 25. There you go, the whole thing. So 26, never mind. And then with your finger, you give it a little mix so that it's all dissolved. Salt. We need salt, which is right here. No salt, sorry, the sugar. Jesus, gosh, 5 ingredients and I can't get it right. 1 teaspoon of sugar, actually. And then I'm gonna add the flour. Some people like to wait for the bubbles to pop up, but I think I'm just going to, with the light on is a little bit better. I'm just going to add the flour. So I'm gonna zero my tara. No, before that, with this recipe, what I've learned, it's important the way the steps you take, because before you know, you've got your hands are all sticky, covered in sticky flours, and then it becomes a little more difficult to proceed to the next step. So while your yeast is reviving, what you should really do is put some oil. I put olive oil, but you could also put vegetable oil on your tray. Don't be stingy. You need quite a bit, and I'm not going to tell you in whether it is a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. You just put some in it, and then you let it run along the surface of your tray. Then afterwards, with your hands, because you'll need your hands to be greasy, but that's going to be afterwards. You can complete the spreading with your hands. So now we put it aside, and we're going to add the flour. And we want, 400 grams of flour is the requirement. And with 400 grams, you will have quite a thin but crispy focaccia. If you like your focaccia to be a little thicker, you can add flour. I prefer the focaccia to be crispy, but it's also nice sometimes to have a thicker type of focaccia, so you can slice it in half and fill it up with your favorite stuff. It could be roasted vegetables or mayo and ham, which is not very vegan, but it's really nice. Also a few slices of tomato. Or you could just put a lot of vegetables on top of your focaccia while it's cooking. So you could put olives, onions, caramelized onions is really nice, or fresh tomatoes, rosemary, courgettes, you name it, you put it there as you wish. Mushrooms, ham, whatever. We're gonna put it plain because guess what? The little boy upstairs likes it plain, and let's face it, it's not a punishment. So we're going to add 400 grams of flour, and I'm gonna be using one of my little measurer, simply because I don't want to make a mess, and I've got small hands, so it can be quite difficult for me to hold the big jar without dropping it. Come on, open up. So I'm gonna take one of these beautiful measure. This is what's brought to me by my lovely friend Linda. She had gone to Las Vegas years ago. I couldn't find them. I didn't know that all you had to do was go to AliExpress so you find anything. So I asked her whether she could bring me some measured cups, and she brought back this set of all different sizes, from a quarter of a teaspoon to a cup. So every time I use it, I think of her, Linda. So oh, it's still got some in here. 420 grams. Okay, we can. So this is the pizza flour I got here. It was actually donated to me by a lady who lives nearby, and I don't know whether she went on a no carb diet, but she was giving away 4 bags of these, and I just grabbed them. And they're really good. It's really good to make pizza, to make focaccia. This is the shit you want to buy. So now we've got at 418 grams. Let's not be too anal about measures. And now with a spatula, because I don't really want to get my hand or sticky, for now at least, we're going to mix it. Yeah, that's better. You don't want to mix it too much. Obviously, you need to make sure that all the flour is dissolved in the water. But this is not pizza that you want to become flexible and elastic, and what you want to do basically. And even with pizza, you don't really want to work it too much, because if you work it too much, then it becomes a bit tough. So now I'm gonna use my hands. It can be quite therapeutic. Come on. Gosh, I really do not like this phase when it's all sticky and your wish is for your phone not to ring or the doorbell not to go off. So it's a bit lumpy, and there's a few bits where there's more flour, others there's more wet, doesn't matter. It doesn't, oh fuck, I forgot the salt. And now we're gonna add the salt, which is actually something you do afterwards. But now, of course, my hands are all sticky, fuck. That's what I mean for being organized. So now with your filthy hands, you're gonna try to scrape off all this excess of butter. Jesus. Yeah. What you could also do is dust it with some flour. And I might just do that. Oh, man. Okay. So here's my salt. And here's the measure. A tablespoon. Because the focaccia, you want the focaccia to be salty. Absolutely. If the focaccia is not salty, then it's like failed bread, basically. And the point of focaccia is just eating it by itself, just like that. There's nothing nicer than that, honestly. So when I happen, and in the past I used to fall for it, buy the focaccia from the supermarket with the expectation of eating focaccia made in Italy. Gosh, the disappointment was unbelievable. It was doughy, it was unflavored, insipid, just plain boring. And they charge a freaking fortune because it's focaccia, you know. Fucking hell, that's bread. It's just flat bread with nothing else. Anyway, so here's now is nicely, the salt is in there. It's going to dissolve, and afterwards we're going to see the progress. Now, of course, I'm as organized as ever. So now this comes the step where you want to have oil in on your hands, because what you do, you dig your hands onto the tray so your hands are nicey and oily, and you grab hold of your dough. Now what I do is to press it and shape it into a thick square, and then a rectangular actually. Let me see. Don't need to move this away. Let's remove this one so I have more space. There you go. See? Then I fold it in two like that, and then I turn it like that, and I kind of make a little fold underneath, and that's it. Looks like a mini chicken, poor thing, sitting there with a necklace. So this is it basically. This is the biggest work you have to do, because then what I'm going to do now is to rinse my hand, and then I'm going to show you the next step. The first. So now I've got my hands nice and clean. What we're going to do now is to let this baby sit. I'm going to add a little bit of oil on top, just a little bit, just like that. And we're going to put it in the oven. The oven is off. All you do is turn the light on, so then the heat from the bulb will produce enough heat for your dough to relax, and the gluten to kick in, do its job. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a baker. And yeah, this. And I'll see you in an hour. I don't know. Bye.
So
Hello. Yeah. What? Yeah. Okay. So I'm back. It's been about an hour. And now let's see what the dough is looking like. Let me turn this baby around and move this one here. Shall I turn the light off? It's a bit dark. Okay, let's see if I can get something with the light sorted. Anyway, there you go. See how big it became? It became twice as big, basically. And that's what we want. So now what we're gonna do is to flatten out the rest of the dough. So I'm gonna put a little bit of oil in my hands, and with my fingers I'm going to start basically just pressing it and spreading out the dough. There's areas where the flour has blended more differently, and you can feel some lumps, and what I do is just to give it some extra work there, trying to get the thing melted. I don't know, did I explain myself? Doesn't matter. I think it's quite an organic experience that you have to try yourself. Now, the original recipe actually says that you don't leave you don't fold the dough. You just basically press it on your tray, let it sit for 20 minutes, and then bake it. But I watched and tried several different other types of approach, And if you're patient enough to wait a little longer, then this system is more effective for the final result. Obviously, if you know what to expect, and I don't want to sound arrogant as like, hey, I know about focaccia, but I do know about focaccia because I grew up in a land that made focaccia in the north of Italy. I ate tons of it, and all different type. The focaccia from Liguria, from Genoa, la focaccia genovese, the focaccia from Turin, where I'm from Puglia, all different type. And my favorite is still the fugassa, the one from Genoa, which is thin and crispy and packed with oil and salt. And this is what I like. So, focaccia shouldn't be spongy, in my opinion. And if it's spongy, then it has to be soaked into extra virgin olive oil, and it has to taste nice. And as I said before, most of the time it doesn't. So now we have the dough is nicely squashed throughout the whole tray. We're gonna leave it there for another hour or less or more. Again, in the oven with the light on, so then it can grow again and become a little bubblier. What we want is to see some bubbles and some movement, basically. So I'm gonna throw it back in the oven. And I'll see you later. Hello, so we're back. Now the focaccia has been sitting in the oven, lying there, spread out for the past half hour. I don't know. I'm gonna show you the result. I hope you can see it. The light is not ideal. I need to get some better lighting. Anyway, so as you can tell, some bubbles have started to rise. So there's definitely some life in here. Now, what we're gonna do, we're going to get some sea salt. We want the sale grosso, we call it in Italian, and it's the flakes, the big flakes. So let me get my and so here's the salt flakes. Can you see it? It looks like snow. So now with our fingers, we're gonna dip the fingers in the corner of the tray where there's lots of oil, and we're going to make some holes. Let me turn this light off. Maybe you get a better. Yeah, it's a little bit better. It's a bit dark, but hey. So we're going to create all these little dimples into our focaccia. And we need the dimples because then the oil and the brine which we're going to make will sit on, and the sea salt will sit on there, and then they will make these lovely pockets of oily, salty, soft and crunchy effect. That's the only way I can describe it. And the beauty of focaccia is that provided you're not going to eat the whole lot as soon as you get it out of the oven, is that you can cut it in portions, put it in a Ziploc bag and freeze it. What I used to do was to make 2 batches and then cut it in portions and put it in a large Ziploc bags, keep them in the freezer, and then I would have focaccia on demand without having to bake it. But now that we have so much time at hand, I'm thinking, why not? I can bake focaccia anytime I want. So now, I'm gonna wipe my fingers. I'm gonna turn the light on again because it's a little dark for me. Sorry, guys. And we're gonna sprinkle the salt. First of all, let me turn the oven on. And you want the oven at 200 and what is that? 220 degrees Celsius. So 210. And then you sprinkle the salt in the dimples. Sprinkle the salt. And what you could also do, as I said before, you could, oh man, you're noisy. My oven is so noisy. What I really would like to do is to get a new kitchen. It's my dream. A nice big kitchen with a brand new oven, not a noisy. I mean, I'm really grateful to you, don't get me wrong. Don't break, please don't break. I've had this oven now for the last 10 years, 8 years. And it's been serving me right. It's a beautiful oven. It's just very noisy. So every time I bake, and I bake really often, then it makes a noise while it's heating up. It makes a noise while it's cooking. It makes a noise while it's cooling down. And yeah, so anyway. So we sprinkle the salt. I lost my train of thoughts now. Don't be afraid. Oh yes, you could add black olives. Tony doesn't like olives. You could add baby tomatoes. I cut them in half, or even the whole baby tomato, and just stuck them in the focaccia and let it rise, and then bake it together. Caramelized onions, that is something I strongly recommend. Maybe next time I'll make it with caramelized onions, and it's a bit laborious, the preparing of the onions, but it's worth every minute. With chilies, if you like chilies. I mean, probably the Italian will be like, chilies, no fucking way, you're not putting chilies on my focaccia. But you know, we're not in Italy, we're free to do what we like. So let's just be extravagant and put whatever you like on your focaccia. It's your focaccia, you eat it, so you're in charge, okay? So, and now while we're waiting for the oven to go into temperature, we just wait. So I'm going to see you later. And we're back. Now finally the oven is on temperature, so I'm going to put this beauty, which meanwhile kept on bubbling up. Can you see that? All those bubbles, all those dimples. I'm going to throw it in the oven for see how long? For 10 minutes, and then we're going to put the brine, and then we're going to shovel it back in the oven. So I'm going to put the timer on, because otherwise I'll forget. 10 minutes. And meanwhile we're going to prepare the brine together. The brine consists of oil and water. So let me get my little jug. I get a little jug because it's easier, because I can. And some olive oil. So let me weigh 50 grams of water, plus 30 grams of oil, for a total of 80 grams. Boom. So then what you do is you whip it a bit with a fork, and you turn it into a nice thick solution, which then we'll be putting on the little dimples of our pizza. But that will happen in the next 10 minutes. So I'm gonna love you and leave you now. So we're back. Now the focaccia is been baking for 10 minutes, and then we're going to put the brine, the oil and the water brine. So let me get a chopping board so we can put our tray on it. We're going to filthy, not very effective. Oof, hands protection. Oh, look at this beauty. Oh my God. So let me turn the light off so you get to see a little bit better. In fact, we need to get the light sorted, Tony. So, it's a bit dark here.
What happened?
I had to turn the light off because it was really, it was too bright and you couldn't see anything from the phone. So, you know, I'd like them to see the results, the halfway results. So, now we're going to pour this beauty here. The whole thing, don't be afraid. Even if it looks a bit soggy, then you're throwing it back in the oven. So then it will have time to dry up. And the bits that won't dry, they will give this nice wet effect. So then you want to have the liquid, the fluid running all along the surface of your focaccia. Look at this beauty, look how beautiful. Now I'm gonna turn the tray this way because I noticed that there's one part of the oven that doesn't cook as nicely. And we don't want the focaccia to be pale. So we're gonna throw it back in for another 10 minutes. I'm gonna turn the light on and I'm going to pause. So the focaccia seems to be ready according to the timer. Let me turn it off. Beep. And now let's reveal. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Yeah. So the back side of my oven is definitely working way harder than the front side. Now let me turn the light off so you can see it again. Or maybe what I should do is this. No, God, I can't see a bloody thing like that. Yeah? Look at this beauty. You should smell it. It looks delicious. Can you see the oil bubbling still there? That's the water and the oil. So now we're going to detach the bottom of the focaccia from the tray. And we're gonna let it cool before sampling it. Shut up. So remember, we put the oil at the bottom, and that is to prevent that the thing sticks on your tray and becomes a disaster. So you have to be a bit forceful, perhaps. I mean, in my case, maybe you're luckier. You also want to be careful not to burn yourself. Oh my God, Peppa. Maybe I should have put more oil. Seems a bit of a challenge. Oh, can you hear the cracking noise? This sounds so delicious. Okay, let me take another spatula. My vintage orange flexible spatula. It's a little longer, a little more flexible and thinner than the plastic one. So let's just say that usually it comes off much easier than that. So I'm gonna cut a little corner from the successful corner so we can I can have a little bite live. And I also want to show you, because my mouth is watering. I want to show you the final result. So, ouch, this is boiling hot. So let's, ouch. God, this is so hot. Nice and crispy. And the salt, you can taste it right through it. And that's what it's supposed to taste like. Very salty. Not very salty, I mean, you don't have to become super thirsty afterwards, but look at the bottom. Look at that bottom. Nice and golden and crispy. And these, my lovely peeps, is how I used to start my day back in Italy. We used to go to this local baker, queue up, and for 250 lira, which is the equivalent of the current 50 cents, I used to be able to buy a square of focaccia, and that's what I ate on my way to school. And this threw me back about 40 years. So please try it. I'm going to read you out, so take a note, because I am writing. 400 grams of flour, 25 grams of yeast, 260 grams of water, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of salt. 220 degrees oven. You bake it for 20 minutes. After the first 10 minutes, you pull it out, you put this brine made of 50 grams of water, 30 grams of olive oil, and then you enjoy it. So, this is me. Thank you for your time. Bye.